Hello, everybody, and welcome back. And continuing the trend of being unstoppable, now we have to ask the question of, well, where? Where are we unstoppable? Well, take away the W, and you probably got our level. Yeah, believe it or not, this one is actually going to be less of a look at the world in a realistic sort of light, but rather look at things a little bit with a little bit of a suspension of disbelief. Because believe it or not, you probably don't even need my advice, because you already in this part of space and time are already unstoppable. You just don't know it yet. And believe it or not, I was in a very, very similar position myself, where I wasn't quite conscious of what really was my own strength. And that was when I realized what my own strength was. My own strength was that actually I could do and be anything that I wanted to be. Which, yes, that may or may not have been borrowed a little bit from Blue's Clues, but what can I say? That show is literally going to stay locked in my brain for probably the rest of my life, because it is, when you start to think about it, they were right about an awful lot of things. From recycling to learning how to share, and even about building a little bit of self confidence. Because, believe it or not, it's not just at that crucial early part of your life where you start to take notice of your surroundings and everything in between. But think about when you get to adulthood. You think that these are the sorts of things that you should know already, but knowing and doing are two very, very separate things. And you may have heard me over a few times voice the feeling and sentiment of there are only two types of people in this world. There are those who can't or won't, and then there are those that can and do. And sometimes, if you feel like you don't particularly know which side you really stand on, let me just refresh you guys a little bit of a refresher for what they're worth. Maybe it's not a bad thing at all to possibly go back to something, maybe something that you remember from your early childhood. Like, you know what? If I could get my hands on like a copy of like every single version of the UK version of Blue's Clues and watch it from start to finish, I think I probably would. Why? Because why not take it back to very basics? Why not take it back to what I was taught? Why not take it back to the things that I feel like I should know through my endless experience and the fun I had watching Blue's Clues? Because lo and behold, there were some fantastic shows I remember when I was like a really young kid. Chief among one of these things as well, Little Bill. And whilst many people probably discountenance, Little Bill because of, well, its association with Bill Cosby, I will, however, on the other hand, I'll say this much. Bill Cosby, he's an absolute POS, don't get me wrong. But that's not really the show's fault. The show doesn't condone any of that. Nothing about the show condones anything like that. Nothing about the show is meant to imply or suggest whatsoever that, guess what? Things like Bill Cosby did, they should be straight up what everyone else should follow. That's not really, like, listen, I know Nickelodeon has had like that bad rep for, guys like Dan Schneider, but at the same time, like, think about it this way. Was anything that, Bill Cosby did, like, was that the show's fault? You may argue Nickelodeon has, or Viacom, I suppose, may have a hand in saying, well, they endorsed the show, despite the fact that, again, what Cosby was up to was probably not hush hush, but at the same, like I said, Bill Cosby doesn't actually play a role in the show, apart from, well, it being more or less a series of stories about, his I think it was about his own son who died very tragically when he got older, but that's kind of just what I'm trying to put at. Why not take it back to things that I grew up with, things that I knew, and I could work out, guess what? How that makes me unstoppable again. Because if you want to know again about the here and now, what you occupy in space and time, it's, again, not exactly the worst thing in the world to take it right back to basics. Take it back to simple questions you were probably told when you were a kid, like the difference between right and wrong, the difference between right and wrong. What do you like? What do you like to do? What do you like to eat? Who are your friends? What do you like about your friends? What do you want to be? And when you start boiling it down to things like that, it's a great way to not so much reinvent yourself, but to reintroduce yourself. Share to the world, or possibly share to your friends, your family, your loved ones, your best friends, that guess what? Actually, this is who you are, and it's all you've ever wanted to be. Because you can take pride and comfort in the fact that you're being truthful with yourself. I think those sorts of things make you unstoppable. Chief among which is that, is there any force to stop you? That's the thing about the present day here. That what I discussed was more about the past sort of here in terms of where you were, which in turn makes you unstoppable. But what about the right here and right now? How does being here right now make you unstoppable? Well, it's because you've got here so far, and you know what? Not everything works out for the best. And even I stand here right now, and listen, I've had many blunders in my life. Many things I know absolutely I am responsible for. Sometimes I don't feel like everything that happened to me was my fault. But at the same time, as if we stand right now, I know there are many things that I am responsible for. And, well, you just have to take accountability for everything you can do and you have done. That's just straight up part of being an adult, I guess, is learning to understand that what you do is your thing. And sometimes there is no such thing as good or bad. There are only consequences. Good consequences or bad consequences. The point is you pay the consequences for the choices you make. And it doesn't work in any other way, and other people can't be held responsible for what you do personally. But because of what I do personally, that's what makes me believe I am unstoppable right here and right now, because insofar as I'm concerned, there is no force, power or earth to stop me. Then we come to the where in terms of future tense. Where in the future are you going to be unstoppable? Simple answer, well, where do you want to be in 10 years' time? And guess what? I hope, more than anything else, I will still be here in 10 years. I hope I'll be here for the next 50 years. Because guess what? If we've managed to come this far, and I've managed to face, adversity, issues with self-confidence, managing to stay sober for nearly a whole year, guess what? I don't think it's particularly out of the question to say, guess what? Think about what we've managed to do so far. Think about what we're doing right now. And just think of what we can do tomorrow. However, tomorrow isn't here yet. But what is here is probably just as important as any other, because it is the right here and right now. And one of the most fantastic things about living today is that I do sort of feel the master of my own destiny. I feel that whatever I choose to do, I can be whoever I want to be. And there's no power on this earth or above the earth to stop it.